Hello, nerds for Yang.
Hello, nerds!
Hello, nerds!
Hello, nerds!
Hello, nerds!
Hello, nerds.
Hello, nerds!
Now with this campaign, bang, dang, it's and true. Come roll with the Yang Gang.
Hello, nerds.
Hello, nerds!
Farhad from the Good Party. Welcome to the show. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing fantastic. Nerds like to party.
That's true. Well, we
Everybody loves a good party.
we like to live stream about politics from time to time. So for those who are not familiar with you and the Good Party, maybe you could just start with a quick introduction, and then of course we'll go into a lot more detail.
Absolutely. Well, I'm Farhad Mohit. I'm a longtime technology entrepreneur. Built a few different products. Starting back in the Web 1.0 days, I started something called bizrate.com, which became one of the largest rating sites on the internet, consumer ratings, empowering people with the power of, 5-star ratings. Yeah, we were there doing that. Started another thing called Shopzilla, became the #1 price search engine in the world, had a successful exit with that. And more recently built something called Flipagram, which married photos, video, and music into one object, short video, music videos. And we sold that in 2017 to a small Chinese company called ByteDance, who took up that and our rights that we'd negotiated and the viral mechanic that we built, mixed it with Musical.ly, who created a fame mechanic, and relaunched as TikTok, which everybody's familiar with. So that my background has been that. Once I exited that, I thought about what is it that I could do that could have the biggest impact. And as I looked around, there was nothing as important as our democracy and the rules that need to be set if we're going to have humanity thrive going forward, is being set by representatives that are sort of, less than representative, shall we say. Democracy is under siege by money and power. So started the Good Party as a platform to bring technology to bear, using technology as a lever to change the infrastructure of democracy. I don't think there's a better thing or use of my time than to build sort of this type of technology that can empower people to take back our democracy from the powers that are kind of locked us into this red and blue format, that duopoly that really doesn't get the best representatives or the best ideas into power. So I'm excited to be working on that at the Good Party. The Good Party is not a political party; it's a platform, an open source, free platform to take back our democracy.
So tell us a little bit about how the Good Party platform addresses this problem of a duopoly.
Yeah, so I mean, if you think about, let me step back a second. Technology. Well, first of all, we're always forming our problem here with if we had better candidates, if we had better policies. Yang is a very fantastic candidate. You guys are incredibly supportive of, I know, and UBI is a fantastic concept. So in general, what you'd like to have in a democracy is to have great ideas. Let's say universal basic income is a core idea, and wonderful candidates who honestly will represent that idea, to be able to accrue supporters, have those supporters turn into voters, and at the polls in an honest election win, if the majority of people want that to win. What reality has for us, though, is two parties that are both beholden to money and special interests. They limit the choices of candidates. They actively work to push out candidates that don't play their agenda, and in fact make others conform to their needs. I mean, I think Bernie Sanders is an example of that in recent memory. That as a candidate that's very popular, ideas are very popular, but the system does not really endorse, and so they keep marginalizing and pushing him out of the way for what many would argue are not even as popular candidates, and then they try to push those up, and Biden is an example of that. So how do you get around that? Well, technology is a lever, and if it's applied properly, and I use this framework which I call, if it's useful and it's possible, then it's inevitable. Technology makes it possible, it's inevitable. I've done this over and over. Bizrate was like this, Shopzilla was like this, Flipagram, people said you'd never be able to get the rights for all the music from all these different music companies for people to make music videos, short music videos. We were able to do that because it was useful. It was useful to everybody. We had to just build the technology. So what are we doing here? If you think about what is the useful component here that is missing from technology and technology can provide, I want to frame this with the First Amendment. Do you mind if I put out on a slide actually that walks you through?
Go for it.
I think it would be nice to do that. So let me show you this one. I have 2 slides out of my presentation that'll kind of contextualize.
Farhad, you can show unlimited slides. This is the nerd show, man. We love slides.
Okay, let me share my screen here. I've never done this before. Application window. I haven't used Stream. Is this showing my screen?
Yeah, I just added you.
Oh, great, cool. Okay, great. Okay, so the framework for optimism that I use, as I said, is if it's useful and technology makes it possible at scale, then it's inevitable, and we just have to build it. And so when we look at what's useful for democracy, I'll say the First Amendment is a useful amendment for democracy. And you say, well, that's okay. Let's contextualize that a little bit. First Amendment has 5 rights. The first of them is the freedom of religion, which is the freedom to have ideas, what I call a religion being your primal ideas. I call that the freedom of ideas. You can have any idea you want in America. You can say that idea. You should be able to publish that idea, the freedom of press. You should be able to assemble peaceably around that idea and discuss it. And then you should write to petition your grievances to the government as a 5th of those rights. I would call that the freedom to vote your ideas into power. That's the most powerful of the rights, actually, to petition. The most powerful petition to the government is that. So if we look at it and overlay that with technology, you'll notice what technology has made possible. We only had the first 2, freedom to have an idea and the freedom to say that idea at the beginning. All people had that. We did not have the freedom of press because press required money. You needed printing presses. Only a few people had those. The freedom of press came with the beginning of the PC era, and in 1999 with the internet, the dawn of blogging. That freedom of press came along. Freedom of assembly followed soon thereafter. Assembly was something that also needed money. It was something that you had to have money, otherwise you couldn't assemble 10,000 people. You'd have to get a hall, rent it out, talk to the state, get permits. Freedom of assembly became one where it's for the right of the people when Twitter and Facebook came along and other things started to allow people to have thousands and millions, tens of millions, now even 100 million followers to follow your ideas. Now you can have an idea, say that idea, publish it for other people to see it and discuss, in forums like Twitter. That's an incredible set of rights. This is only less than 20 years they've been around. With this, all these rights shrinking, going into our pocket with the smartphone. Now we have these rights with us all the way up to here. And in the last 10 years, additional things like chat messaging, Spotify and podcasting, the TikTok, which I've been familiar with, pulling people, the ability to create and share things on a massive scale, have brought us incredible change. And people say Black Lives Matter. Black lives have always mattered. It's just that you wouldn't be able to capture the things that were happening and publish them to your assembly and have change actually take place. The issue here is that we stop short. All of this technology does not address the final right, which is the right to petition your grievances to the government. That's the piece that the Good Party is working on. That's how we are working on the idea of taking these supporters who have gathered around an idea and taking it to the next level, which is taking it to the vote, because supporting an idea is not interesting as voting that person into power. And so if you look at our main innovation here, and this is my second and only slide, so we can use it as a context, is what we call the candidate voting block. Why is it the candidate voting block looks to address a core problem inside of our democracy, and that's to say that left and right pick their candidates, and that anyone else you want to bring in that's not left, not right, not the chosen two, you're suddenly wasting the vote. So first and foremost, what we're building is a way to mobilize supporters for an idea into voters. So here we have Andrew Yang's Twitter page. Andrew Yang amassed 1.6 million followers around really the strength of his ideas and his candidacy, and that's pretty impressive in a short amount of time on Twitter. But the question is, how many registered voters are in that group? Who'd vote for him? We don't know. He doesn't know. We might have some ways to do it, but it hasn't been. So at a core thing, the candidate voting block is a way to organize and vote as a group. It's a way to group all these supporters together and say, look, let's grow this group and see how many of us are registered to vote and be ready to vote for him. So anyone can privately join the Andrew Yang block on the Good Party, and then also see how many other people are in the block. And also how many votes we predict are needed to win. 38.6 million votes cast in the right states, and as we can show the breakdown for that down the line, would win the election. We believe 270 electors for Andrew Yang. So what does this do? Suddenly now you have a target. It's like a Kickstarter for every election. I know how many votes we need. I know how many votes, how many people are in supporting. I know how many, what percentage of those people are registered. So if we can figure that out, then it becomes a nice game. It becomes a way to never waste a vote, because a voting block becomes then a free option to see if this candidate is ready, their ideas are ready to have enough supporters to win. If they're not, we don't activate. If they are, we activate for the win. And it becomes a viral spiral of growth, because it kind of more supporters now kind of see this and say, oh my God, I see what it is, and here I'm a percentage of those are voters, and then they can link out to other people. So as soon as you join the Andrew Yang block, we let you share out to other people to join the Andrew Yang block as well. And what we say is the Yang Gang, which is your hashtag for the supporters of Andrew Yang, is nice. That's a nice way to kind of associate with Andrew Yang. But the Andrew Yang block is way better. Why is it better? It's way better because right now you have 1.6 million followers there. Let's say we got this to 5 million people by the time the election gets here. Well, that's certainly not enough for Andrew to win this election. But November 4th, 2020, he still has 5 million people that are supporters of him. He now only has 33 million or so to go, and we have 4 years to go till 2024. And so you should keep building his block. If his ideas are good and he has a stamina, and these things can start to build and snowball on themselves. This allows sort of virality, and everybody now knows virality because of sort of the coronavirus, but this is sort of idea virality, which is much more powerful, and that can spread incredibly fast if people start to buy into it. So that's essentially what we're building at the first step here, is a way for people to group their votes together. The reason you want to group your votes together is that if you can't win the election, then you don't want to waste those votes. So you want to group, know whether you can win this election or not, and then if you can't, move to a lesser of two evils. And that's sort of the setup that we have. Does that make sense? So sorry.
Yeah, totally. I would love to learn a little bit. I mean, of course, Farhad, you and I chatted earlier because I've been working on, I don't know, I call it like a sibling project.
Yes.
Where our mission is really to help new candidates just get their first 100 or first 1,000 supporters. I kind of feel like we're the Of the People project is more like a early angel investor.
Right.
And you guys may be more like the Series A kind of stuff.
You're right. good analogy, sure.
But tell us a little bit about like the team behind the Good Party and like how it's funded. And I know there's a lot of volunteer efforts and how people can get involved and learn more.
Yeah, we are well, let's start with the funding. I've been fortunate in that Shopzilla and now TikTok, Flippergram has been incredibly successful. And I'm able to devote the resources needed to this project. So when I was looking at getting involved in something, politics wasn't my top choice, honestly. It just happened to be where the biggest impact could be and the biggest need was, in the sense that I had resources, I have some skills building sort of mobile app, and that's a success there. And I'm anti-establishment as a startup person anyways, but looking at a problem that seems intractable and trying to find a way to kind of break through it and break out of the incumbent's lock on is my kind of thing. So I was naturally drawn to it. I'm funding it. And recognize that we need a core team. So we put a nice core team together of folks. It's very small, 5 people that are dedicated. But then one of the other things that we recognize is that this layer of technology cannot be a commercial entity. We're trying to take money out of politics. We're trying to make this thing. So we decided to build this more as a public good. And so free open source software. And so what we're doing is, with that core group, we're still building out the essential pieces of this. But one of the pieces that we have is this thing called Creators of the World Unite, which is our creator hub. And we recognize that, there are lots of people who are not engaged in politics right now. We estimate 100, I mean, actually, Pew estimates 100 million eligible non-voters in the last election, larger than this either party. 63 million people voted red, 66 million people voted blue in the 2016 election. So blue gets their undies all bunched up that lost won the popular vote but lost the electoral college. But the real story is that 100 million people that are eligible non-voters out there. We recognize that lots of them are younger people are less engaged in politics, and maybe because they're more woke, if you would, and understand that both choices don't meet the match. So there are lots of young people and lots of digital natives involved in this, and we realize that if we want to get to these folks, what we need are people intermediaries, and we're focused on creators on that side. So hackers and open source builders, the developers on building this thing, marketers, storytellers, influencers, and podcasters like yourself and others to get the ideas out and shape and frame even our presentations and things, and then activists and influencers, campaign staff, etc., to do the sort of the virtual door-to-door spreading of this thing. So we've created an open source model here for everyone to be able to jump in and put in there a few hours of time here, some of their talent there, and be able to help some of these campaigns that are have great ideas, are starting to amass supporters, might be coming from a place like Of the People, getting a few thousand people following them. But how do you now provide infrastructure and talent and support to these campaigns so that they can continue to get the word out? And how do we build these things so that we can kind of continue, take supporters and turn them into voters, but not just random voters that only vote for the win. This kind of message of the candidate voting block and the never wasting a vote. So we feel like that with a small core team and lots of volunteers, this can happen. It won't happen possibly in 6 months, as we look at it as a marathon and not a sprint. But over the next few election cycles, I think we can make a pretty big impact if we continue to build.
What's the feedback been when did you guys launch, and what's the feedback been from candidates so far?
Yeah, we launched about 2 months ago, or so I would say, and universally candidates appreciate the feedback. Of course, we're talking to the candidates we're talking to are the ones that are potentially good on our platform, and on our platform, if you want to be potentially good, you have to either take most of your money from small donors or not have a lot of money to begin with. So we're sort of, if you take a large amount of money and you're taking most of it from big money donors, we say that that's not good enough. Big money donors being lobbyists, rich people, putting in more than $200 or PACs and things like that. So if we're mostly talking to good enough candidates or potentially good candidates, and those are the ones that at in the current situation have very little chance of success. So when they see something like ours, I think their natural tendency is like, oh my God, I wish you were here 6 months ago. Like, we wish you were here 6 months ago too. They give us a ton of feedback, but it's late in the game, for many of these folks. Some of them were even lost their primary or whatever because they couldn't amass enough support. Now they're locked out. The primary system is a whole nother thing that I'm sure you guys talk about, but it locks out a lot of great candidates from the general election because the primary system is so controlled at the beginning. So anyways, the feedback has been very positive. And not only just with candidates, but with people who are in the space and who understand the space. Jeff Iroff, who is the founder of Rock the Vote, was on with us the other day talking to us, and he literally said, "This is Rock the Vote on steroids. This is what we would have done or could have done if we had technology to help us." So something as influential especially for young people as Rock the Vote. I mean, I'm of that age where Rock the Vote was a big.
I remember Rock the Vote.
MTV was a big deal. So someone like that saying, looking closely at what we're doing and giving us a thumbs up is very encouraging for us. So far it's been mostly positive, but with a sort of like I wish you were here a little earlier, and we wish you were here a little earlier too. But we are very early for 2022 and 2024. So that's the way we kind of look at it. Hopefully, keep learning here, very tight, iterative, and learning cycle that we're doing. But then be prepared for the 2022 and 2024 elections. So that's sort of what we're building right now.
Have you had any interactions with the party establishments? Like what's the reaction been from I mean, I could imagine some people feeling like, threatened or like, oh, these troublemakers.
Yeah, we're deliberately not going into the party and like waving the party flag and thumping our chest. We like to be under the radar, simply because it's, as the flat part of the exponential is relatively indistinguishable from zero, right? And we like it like that. So because what we want to do is to learn things in that flat part of the exponential with the few data points that are coming in and the little experiments that we're running and the A/B tests. And because we do know that once we get a win, once we get our AOC moment, or if you would, or so the good party brought somebody from the left, out of left field, and they suddenly won or upstage somebody, suddenly all eyes will be on this thing, and we prefer not to have all eyes on this thing, especially the system and its full weight of trying to crush something until we have momentum and can that one win is followed by 5 more and 50 more, and so we can surprise the system and grow exponentially. That's the right way to do it. In flipogram parlance, when I talked to music lawyers and they said, I said, this is what we're planning to do. We're planning to take all 40 million songs on iTunes, the previews, and we're going to let people just make songs, make videos with them. They said, you're crazy. You're going to get sued. I'm like, no, we're nobody. Nobody cares about us. We're going to do that. If it works, then we'll have these many creations of 30 seconds with these songs attached and a buy button to buy the song right next to it, or subscribe to iTunes or whatever. I think we will be in a good place to negotiate at that time. And that turned out to be the right mode. If we would have gone in and explained what we're trying to do to the establishment, that in that case, the record industry, and said, this is what we plan on doing, plan on using all your songs for anyone to create anything they like, it would not have gone well. It would have been impossible. And so we're not looking for the establishment's praise or the establishment's ire at the moment. We're just flying under the radar. You shouldn't pay too much attention to the good party. We're just a silly name.
Yeah. You're like a startup going after, the giant incumbent.
That's right.
And you don't want any attention until it's too late.
Correct. So that's the way to do it. You want your attention because of an exponential explosion. So 6 days after we launched Flipogram, we were the #1 app in the US. Before that, we were nobody. And then within a few months, #1 in 87 countries, and we took a ton of money, funding, and then we started discussing with the record labels, how to license this activity for the benefit of all. And I'd much rather have a few candidates coming in and a pipeline of others and tons of excitement around this candidate voting block thing before we need to discuss with the leaders of the red and blue, what does this mean for the future of their racket.
Can I have to ask you, since it's not every day that you get to talk to someone who at least at one point had shares in ByteDance. Are you still a shareholder, or?
I'm very likely through small fund. No, I got out actually, fortunately right before this ban.
Oh, good for you. Good for you. Because right now, if you you're kind of like over there, the shareholders a little bit over a barrel, to the extent that, they could be locked out of, one of the biggest markets. And, I'm sure Microsoft's not going to offer top dollar.
Yeah, it's disturbing. From a free markets perspective, it's disturbing what's happening here. I mean, by the way, on one of my 2 slides, the last icon on that thing was TikTok, and
I noticed
TikTok. If you think about how quickly they've amassed users, They have 2 billion or so worldwide now in a 3 years time. And these users are creating, they're publishing thoughts and ideas. Now, a lot of it seems frivolous and silly, in that they're doing, the example TikTok is a guy dancing in front of a mirror, or a girl, dancing in front of a mirror doing a lip sync. So it seems innocuous, but TikTok did shut down Trump's rally in Tulsa. Somebody had the idea. So this is publish ideas, then get supporters for that idea and take action is sort of the mode, right? So the idea was, wow, I can book 2 tickets for Trump's rally. They're free. And then I unfortunately don't think I can make it to the rally. I have to walk my pet iguana, or whatever the funny book was for that. I hope they don't have empty seats. Don't tell anyone. And that was the idea that was published a million times over. Million people actually went and registered and did that, and nobody showed up. And that seems like a prank until you think about what that means for the campaign. They haven't had another one since then. Because there's 2 options you can do. This was not a deep denial of service attack or something. This was a 1 million real people taking action. So if you run another campaign, if you either have to make it so hard to register, or cost there, or something which will lower your real turnout from your base, or you have to keep it open like this and they'll do it again. It's a problem. So I think, as far as the why is this a risk to democracy kind of a thing, well, who controls that algorithm, who controls the ideas in there is obviously one piece of this, but also just the people themselves being able to have these ideas and quickly organize around them and mobilize, in this case for a protest, but imagine if they were mobilizing for a vote. It's sort of disconcerting to the powers that be. It shouldn't be in the case of something like this, because these are 1 million real people. That's what democracy is about. But it is when you have a sort of a duopoly that is holding on to power under the pretext of, like, this is a democracy, but it's not really a democracy, because it's not the free ideas, and people are not free to flow up and become, elected, right? So it is a little threatening on that level.
Yeah, it's interesting. As a part libertarian, you have basically a government now saying, we're going to block this private enterprise that allows, free-willed people to use it.
Correct.
And you wonder, like, if it weren't a Chinese-owned company, if it were a California company or a New York company, people would be up in arms. And it just gives, I don't know, it gives me a little pause. It's like, well, what kind of national security risk is this thing? Like, yes, it's people are kind of generating ideas, but I mean, what's the next thing the government's going to shut down? Like, what if, like, before Skype was acquired by Microsoft, it was still a European company? Would we shut that down too? Like, where do you draw the line?
Exactly right. It's a slippery slope, right? So even Facebook, who stands to win sort of with this particular decision, I think they put out a statement saying that it's concerning to them, because they read the writing on the wall. Not only for what we're doing here, that might be advantageous in the short term, but what happens when all these other different countries start balkanizing the internet and locking down, their local version of whatever it is, and then that local version is, of course, to the extent that your system is entrapped by one ideology or another, or one set of one subset of people ruling over the other, that ideology gets to, like, rule the day for the tools that should not be able to restrict freedom of expression. These First Amendment rights should be free for all. And we should know that, we're called the good party because we believe in people are good, and so if you let people be at the center of this thing and democracy will rule, then we'll have good outcomes. But these are all, in my opinion, infringing upon the democratic right of people to have ideas assemble around them, vote them into power, and it's concerning. It's definitely not. It's concerning, and then to have the people who are making those decisions, how much do you trust those people? Like, when the guy's saying we need a cut for this for the U.S. Treasury because it wouldn't have happened without me. It's like, what are you talking about, man? I mean, this is like a protection racket now. It should be very concerning to everyone, even and it is even someone like Facebook that nominally seems like it would win in this situation. It's concerning for the right.
Yeah, I remember a few years ago, a family member was visiting China, and she said, "Oh, I won't be able to. Don't try and direct message me over Facebook because it's not allowed over there." And I remember saying, "Look at that country, they're so afraid of people speaking that they have to ban basically an open platform." But now here we are, threatening at least to ban TikTok.
Well, I mean, there is an asymmetric warfare thing going on here too, where most American companies are restricted behind the China Chinese firewall very severely, and of course China is controlling the message there, and so there is this notion of if they're able to control the algorithm here, and the algorithm is very, very much at place here. It isn't exactly the data of people that matters. It's what that algorithm can incite people to do. And I think who controls that algorithm. So there is some asymmetry there. I don't, global politics is dirtier probably than even, just straight national politics. But that element has to be kept in control. But then, we are the land of the free. This country, is the one that pulls people from everywhere based on its ideals, right? And it's and so in sort of, I'm an Iranian American, so I came here volitionally, first generation immigrant, and we chose it for its ideas, and of course it's hard to get in even back then. Now it's becoming impossible. So you shut down immigration and you start tweaking these ideas to your own personal belief system de jour. In America, the ideal starts to fall apart, and that's very concerning. Should be very concerning to everyone, because anyone who studies all the different constitutions across the world and everything else knows that the one we have is a pretty good one for humanity. It just needs to operate properly. And so, when you see other places do it, you look at them and you're like, well, what kind of place is that? Or that's not America. But when you see this place doing it, and we're American here, so we have to do something about it, right? My view is that we have to get people in positions to be able to change the rules for the benefit of humanity. And that means you have to build systems like the one we're building here and others, and work to be able to have good ideas, be able to gather support around them and vote those ideas into power and change the rules towards humanity. And so that's why we're working every day. I'm sure you're doing the same.
Yeah, I mean, if you take the argument that it's all about the TikTok algorithm and it has so much influence, what couldn't you make the argument that Mark Zuckerberg controls the news feed? Why don't we shut that down too?
I think the argument is that you need to make sure that those algorithms are more open, and that they're what is guiding them is important. So here you have let's use a TikTok example. They basically they're a meme machine, right? So they can put any idea in there, and these kids will make things for those memes. Now, if you turn everyone into a commercial, meme, so that eventually the goal is first to get fame and then turn that fame into money, and everyone is selling something to everyone else, in TikTok. So they're trying to, it's sort of like a low, not maybe the highest ideals, but it kind of works within consumer culture. If you believe the world needs, creativity and we can go in different directions left alone, maybe we need to regulate those ideas, those algorithms, in a way that they cannot only guide people to become commercial entities, and of course cannot guide them to one ideology or another. In the case, the big threat with China controlling it is, of course, that there was a background even idea that if you speak nicely of the Chinese government, all of your TikToks will have more likes, right? And they control how much exposure and how many likes things you get. So can you imagine hundreds of millions of kids making stories in their own way that are pro, some ideology that is backing this thing, and that's, I'm spreading those across, to the next generation. So that was a threat to democracy with the algorithm under the wrong hands. But even in the hands of Zuckerberg, the notion of it making it all about commerce, every creation should be an ad for something. That's a terrible life as well. I mean, that's driving us. What is our biggest problem? We're consuming too much and producing too much. We don't need as much. So, how do you take a breath from that? How do we have ideas bubble up that are reduction based? Like maybe we don't need as much. Maybe we don't need to consume as much. Maybe we don't need to grow. Have you thought about that? We need to grow anymore.
I see the argument for trying to check the influence of these kind of big platforms. I just worry. I'm not sure I trust the government more to do a fair job at regulating. And maybe, who knows? Maybe you end up with a politician that's like, well, I'm going to back off on regulating you so long as you allow more, positive coverage of me, and my party.
And that's the issue. I mean, that's the main issue that we're actually dealing with money in politics, because what is happening is with money is a type of algorithm as well. It says the people who have this resource are important and their voice matters, and the people who don't have this don't. It doesn't matter that the Constitution says one person, one vote. It's actually, this guy has $1 billion, so he has a lot more, influence and sway than one vote. And these other people, the billion of them, they don't have any sway at all. And that's even shown that happens. So when the algorithm is it's like, what is the rule system for how this thing works? And when they start kind of feeding in on each other, right now, if you don't have money, you don't get into power. And if you don't have power, you can't get any money. So it's like, it's a sort of a circular thing, and they're feeding into each other already. That we already have that. Forget about the social media platforms. It's already the powerful people who even get to buy the ads and to buy the creatives to be able to create those ads, etc. So that's why the good party is taking the approach of all of us people, humanity, the creators among us. We all know we sell our services, to one thing or another, right? You worked at Google, I've done, the Shopzilla venture investors, and we need to make a return. But we also create things with our heart, and we know that we can put time and effort into something that's good. So we want to take some of that, open source that, and have people put some of their time and energy into creating, letting good ideas go into power, rather than only kind of working within the system, which means that the powerful get the best tools, they get the best targeting, they get the best ads, they get the best creatives, they get the best, and then they get to change the rules for debates, and they get to change the rules for how to involve in government. And so it's red and blue, pick your choice. Yeah, I know they're two terrible candidates, just pick one of them. Don't you ever think about Yang or Bernie or the Green Party? The Green Party, the Green Party right now sits there, they get 3 to 4% of the vote, which is about 10% of the other parties. They have a 1,900 times funding disadvantage, where you have the two major candidates, Biden and Trump, have about 400 million plus coming in for their just FEC funded. Forget about the additional things that they get. The Green Party has $200,000. $220,000, I think, total for their candidacy. And they have viable ideas. They have ideas that actually would, I think, resonate with a lot of the youth today. Climate change being a big one that obviously the Green Party stands front and center for. They have no shot at being heard in this in right now. They have no shot, and that is a crime. That's a crime against democracy.
How do you think the Good Party platform helps with the money issue that you just described? In that, I've seen a lot of Yang Gang for Congress making the best effort they can, but they're literally getting outspent 10 or 100 times to one. This is even within the Democratic Party, just the incumbent versus a challenger.
Right.
And what are your thoughts? Like, because the system does seem to reward the incumbents. They get the party support. They have the big donor support.
So what we think here, the biggest place that we could add, and we're still building these within our app, is take supporters and turn them into ready voters. So get them registered, get their vote by mail, and have them standing by ready, and prepare them also to know that this is possible. Because one of the things that the Good Party does with these candidate voting blocks is, just by seeing what the target is, how many votes you need, and think how many votes how many people you have already supporting, it should be able to get you more people. So the two pieces of good news, in my opinion. One is that ideas trump money. So word of mouth is much more powerful than money, because you can do it with money, but only when you're not facing a sort of an able challenger who has better ideas and is able to get on the stage. That's one of the reasons why they limit these debates and don't want to have a lot of other candidates on there, because it would be difficult to fight them on their ideas, right? So you kind of suppress their voice. So the internet, publishing tools, shows like yours and others, any way you can get the word out and then get supporters, and then take those supporters and turn them into likely voters with the idea that there is a hope. We feel that can create a virtuous cycle, and go viral, if you would. If that goes viral and you get enough people and you win one, as soon as you win one, that's the exponential situation. It won't happen with the presidency as the first foray into this. It'll happen in one of the Senate or House race, more likely House races, and we're identifying a few of them where we think we can jump in and create this tight loop and take somebody who has some. It's already happening, by the way. Like Cory Bush, Jamal Bowman, etc., coming from sort of left field and just using the tools at their disposal. All of them amassed nice social media followings before their wins. We just want to make that a much more efficient system and much more clear as to how many voters you have, and everybody should be getting excited about it, and everyone should know about it in that race at least. And before we win. And that's one side of it, is that there's technology makes it possible to do this. Soon our technology will get there too. And the other side of it is that $1 billion couldn't get Bloomberg into the race. It just his candidacy fell flat simply because of the person and the fact that he was muscling in. His idea of like, I'm going to buy this election did not land with voters. And so all the money in the world won't help you either if there is your ideas and your platform doesn't resonate. So we hope to be able to use technology to amplify those platforms that seem to be resonating a little bit and push them quickly into office. And then after that, once you can point to it, we think there's going to be a flood of interest, both from the established parties trying to shut this down, and hopefully from humanity trying to get excited and win. So that's the idea. We'll see.
Let me ask you a specific example. There's a few Yang Gang running for Congress that are have successfully moved from the primaries to the general election. So there's some examples are like Blair Walsingham in Tennessee, Donna Imam in Austin, Texas, David Kim out of LA. And these are folks who really have a shot at being a big surprise, and they've been endorsed by Yang, and they're getting a lot of support. How would they engage with? Is there an opportunity for them to engage with the Good Party as a platform now to help them in the general, or do you think it's more for people who are thinking in the 2022 cycle?
No, they can. I mean, all of those races that you mentioned should be they're in the app. We have all the races in for the House, Senate, and the presidency for the federal elections. We have the races in our app. We show you those candidates that are potentially good. These would probably fall into your category. Would fall into that because they're not taking big money. They're not beholden to those big money sources, and they're not the incumbent who's there. So we've probably set them up in our app already for that. And then what I would encourage is that their campaign staff and supporters to get in, start pushing the grow this block, click on that button to grow the block and share with other people on social media and private peer-to-peer messaging. Just say, hey, we can build this block, and if they can make that go viral, you'll see it. You'll see exactly how many votes. I mean, if you tell me exactly what race you were talking about, you said one of the candidates was last name of Kim.
David Kim.
David Kim. Okay, let me see here. I can maybe show this as an example. This is live.
Yeah, you want me to share your screen?
Yeah, go ahead. Let me bring up this election. Sure.
David Kim is running for California's 34th congressional district.
Okay. Yeah, share my screen again. Yeah.
Sharing now.
Okay, so this is live. I mean, I haven't.
Oh yeah, I know the demo guards are going to be giving us trouble, but let's try it.
So here it says there's 220,392 votes is what the most conservative estimate for what we think will win this race, right?
Mm-hmm.
He has 11,011, nice 11 supporters right now for David Kim, right? If I'm and then we have Jimmy Gomez, who I don't know this race, so let's look at him. Yeah, he has 99% of his money. This guy Jimmy Gomez, whoever he is coming from big money sources. That means it's incredible that I haven't seen actually a stat.
Yeah, Jimmy's like, I think the reason why you started the Good Party is Jimmy Gomez.
So and let's look at David Kim here. David Kim is $79,000 he's raised total. He has a 13 times funding disadvantage. But what we do here is we let you join his block, right? So you do this. Oops. Oh, I see. It says I can't join it because I'm not in this district. Sorry, we're changing that in a second. But let me. Do you know what his zip code is?
Oh, that I don't know. Let me see if I can look that up in his contact thing on his website.
Yeah, I was on this.
I mean, I think he's in LA. I'm not sure. You want just any LA zip code?
No, it has to be his zip code.
David Kim.
Yeah, 34. Yeah, if okay, you know what I can actually do here. I can do this. So let me log out. So I'll come in as a fresh person here. This should allow me now to do this. Okay, so if I join David Kim's block, now it has me register. Okay, so I'll register here with Google just to make it expedient. So that's not letting me rank him because I'm not in that. I'm not allowed. Yeah, demo gods. Let me walk you through it if you were from this guy's district. So you would be able to join his block, and as soon as you would register, it would then tell you to share this with others. And as soon as they would come in, it would then do this. I can show it to you for the. Wait, let me see here. Let me see. Hold on a second. Oh, wait. I think one of my guys is looking at this thing, and let me see 9. See if I can proceed with this. Let me change my zip code for a second here. There you go. Now I should be able to do this. Okay, so there you go. So if I join it, so what I would suggest to the people who are supporters of David Kim is come in here, join his block, join David Kim's block.
Mm-hmm.
If you join it, you now become the 11,012, right?
Oh, it counted right.
Share this, yeah, share this, and what we do is when you share this, you can put it in a public message, of course, or I'm going to just copy this link right now and put it in a new window. Okay, so imagine sharing this and somebody clicking on it. As soon as they click on it, they say, want to try to elect David Kim? There's 11,000 people doing that. Join David Kim block, and the cycle continues. So you could share this with 20 people and have 10 more people join it. And if people do this once a day, within 30 days or 20 days, you'll have more people than needed to win this whole election. So there's plenty of time for one of these blocks to go viral and get enough people to support. It's just a matter of seeing this and seeing that there's a possibility to win, and hopefully getting that word out and seeing that, look, we're doing it, we're getting there, we're gonna win now. And then if we can get it over 200,000, the next thing for us is we're going to be registering all these people. That piece isn't live on the site, but register, get their vote by mail, and activate that vote and say, let's make it happen. We're going to win this thing. So we get out the vote pieces makes it happen only when we have enough votes. So it's a very simple thing. It's free. There's nothing to it. What we need is just sort of some of these campaigns and others to become aware of it, and they haven't yet, simply because we're building, and not a lot of people know, and we still have some features to build. Obviously, there's some issues with the site as well, but but it's relatively straightforward. And anyone, and at any time, oh, I should just show you this. Once you start recruiting people, I've pulled 8 people in, so you can see all the people you've recruited, and anyone you invite to join comes in. So when the get out the vote happens, as I vote, and I'm okay, if I'm okay with me sharing this with others that I voted, it'll share with Jahansha and Jonathan, and these 6 people are the people that are in this app because of me. So they will all get messages that I voted, and they should vote too in this election, because we're going to win. So it's kind of a simple concept. It just needs to get socialized a little bit. And
yeah, it's super cool. I love how you do the comparison data between David and Jimmy. Could you look up Donna Imam, IMAM? She's running in the Texas. I think. Let me see what district is she running in. Hold on.
Imam.
IMAM, Texas 31.
Got it. That was our admin tool.
I'm curious if your system will compare her favorably. She is a Yang Gang candidate, but we want to know how she compares to her competitor.
Yep, she's potentially good as well. 24,000 folks. She only needs 175,000 to win. And let's see how John Carter is doing here. Let's see him. 91% big money sources. Another one of those. And for her, she is good. She has a 6 times funding this is managed. So yeah, all of these folks come in with probably good ideas, some good support, base support. She's already passed 10% of the way she needs to be there. She just needs a way to get those supporters viral and turn them into voters.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And most of the effort is actually, paradoxically, at the moment, spent on getting ads to just tell people I exist, I'm a candidate. But all we should be doing is taking your ideas and getting supporters that can become voters, and showing that what percentage of these folks are voters, etc., so that everyone knows. So I should give you a sneak peek. The next version of our sort of
mocks,
yeah. So the next version for us is we'll have not just the supporters, but the percentage of them that are verified voters, and so you can kind of see where we are with how the system is going. So we're building that out, and the voter verification piece of it as well, so that there should be the system would have it so that you vote, you don't think about this candidacy, you don't think about election, you don't think about anything until you get your ballot, and then maybe it's election day and you go and look on the ballot, whoever they've decided to put on there, and you see the one that makes more sense, or the party you think you align with most, and check it off. We think that that's not the right way. You need people on the strength of their ideas, and they're building an assembly of people on social media to take that assembly. Everyone should see how many of us are ready to do this. Are we able to do this? Can we do this? If we can, we do it all as a group. If we can't, we go our separate ways for now, but we keep building that coalition, because we all know Yang was, your group, Yang was your guy, right? He maybe this wasn't his time, but he was your guy. You should know exactly how short you came, exactly, and how much more you have to go for him to not only be his ideas, but his time as well. We're ready for 2024, or is it 2028? I don't know. Barring that, you'll have people like Yang come up every election. There's tons of them. The idealist folks who come in, then even if they win and get in there somehow, and Yang is at this risk. I mean, look at Bernie Sanders, a good example, actually. He's been doing the same thing for, a long time. He's not changed his positions. It's just the system continuously pushes him aside. So his best hope now is that he has moved things a little bit to the left, or whatever, a little bit towards his ideas. And, maybe you'll get a cabinet seat, maybe you'll get something. And the system kind of, holds out the prize, because they shut you out from that, and then they keep telling you, oh, you'll do okay, yeah, come on, you're helping us, we're moving to your side, we'll use your talking points. That's a bunch of bullshit, if you ask me. The people with their ideas should get into power when there's enough support for them. That's democracy, and we want to make that as clean and simple and plain to see as possible. And as we do, I think lots of people are going to jump on board, get excited about being more active, and that their voice count. I think the young people, if they see it, and it's sort of a game. Like, can we push this? Can we push this thing up? Can we really win this Kickstarter? For Yang or whomever we're talking about, any of these candidates. I think they'll get very excited, and 1 or 2 wins opens the floodgate for the next time for a bunch more, because there's nothing gating the technology once it gets going. And it's not that expensive to build all of this stuff either, and the scale of the billions that are being invested on each side in these campaigns and by the political industrial complex. So the money, you can take the money out simply by in this situation, an endowment that is allowing it to happen, and then the rest of it is just building the mousetrap in a way that kind of allows all the players to do what they're good at. People should just look at the ideas. If it resonates with them, share with other people. As they're doing that, they should also, of course, register to vote. They should get their vote by mail ballot. Everybody should know where their status is. And once they start voting, everyone should be able to know what this is happening. It's actually happening. I should get out and vote as well, because we're going to win. Not the way it is right now, where all of the information asymmetry benefits the 2 parties that exist, and none of it for the people. That's not right.
Well, I love what you're doing, and I encourage everybody who is intrigued to go check out thegoodparty.org. It's part of the kind of next generation infrastructure for democracy, to put power back in the hands of people, and not have our choices kind of shoveled to us, so we can take more of an active role. And I'm so happy to hear of the good work you're doing. And also thank you for doing the demo live. You never, this isn't just some big ideas, like you're actually building it, and you've got a team working on it and a team of volunteers. So congratulations for all of the progress you've already made. And it's super exciting to see what you're up to.
Thank you so much. Thank you. And if people are interested in learning more, we also do have a crowdcast. We do Wednesdays at 5 p.m. So you can, off the goodparty.org website, you can see the link to come and tune into that. We do a live stream and go through the idea in a bit more detail, and then tell people, answer people's questions, and give them pathways into helping and volunteering if they're interested in what we're doing. It's an effort of a lot of people. And it's exciting to see more and more people getting involved. So thank you for having me on, and I hope we are able to continue this discussion down the line with more.
Yeah, we'll have to get you back on for the next cycle or earlier, depending on how everything pans out. And Farhad, with that, I'm just going to say thank you, and to everybody else, goodbye, nerds.
Bye, nerds.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.